Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, The Inked Reader. Today I am doing what I watched recently. So these are all the things I've watched during fall 2021, and I'm gonna give you a brief synopsis, divide these in category, and give you very short reason why I did like them or dislike them. I have the goal of keeping my videos more short in 2022, so I need to be more succinct and more brief. So, without further ado, let's start. First movie I have watched was Gemini Man. I believe this was on Netflix, and this is the story of this man who was a famous sniper, kind of a killer, mercenary style for a CIA agency or something of the sort. And one day he discovers something very problematic, so they send out a killer to take him out, and he just happens to look very similar to the killer. I rate this as a rated book, so from 1 to 5, 5 being great and 1 being shit. I gave it 3. Average action-packed movie that was just what it promised to be. Don't need any brain cell to watch this. Never watch it again, but I don't mind having watched it once for the action. Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds, which is an actor that I found hilarious, and he is basically playing this protagonist. He is actually living in a video game, and he is one of the clerks, one of the side characters, so he's not the protagonist by any means of this video game. And one day he realizes that something in his world is very wrong, and he might not be living actually as he thought he was. And this is hilarious, it's funny, is, I would say, not cute, yeah, let's use that adjective, although it might not be the right one. It's just a good time with a lot of humor in it. Plot is predictable, yes, of course, but it also surprised me in a couple of things. And overall, I don't have any negative things to say. Yes, you have to like the genre and be up for a movie like that, but I like the idea. I thought it was, we never think about, when we play video games, about the other guys, like characters that are just there to serve a purpose, if you want, or maybe not even that, just to occupy the space and make it look more realistic. So it was a nice idea behind it, and I gave it 4 stars. I watched Black Widow. This was on Disney Plus, and I found that although the action scenes were well done, although it's still a Marvel movie, so there are still all the effects, and I do like her as a character, the movie was overall disappointing. Like, I don't think by now, with all the good movies we have from Marvel, that this was up to standard, or that this was doing anything new or adding anything we actually needed from the saga. So yeah, 3 stars, wasn't bad, but wasn't definitely good. I rewatched The Snatch, and it's still a 4.5 stars movie. I still like the plot, I like the characters. It's just hilarious, smart movie that I had not watched and I actually forgotten so much about. So I was so pleased to have a rewatch of what I consider, at the end of the day, kind of one of my classics. Like, it's a movie that every now and then I will rewatch and enjoy every time. Let's then not delve into the fact that I was having a very hard time with my job, and I decided to just rewatch the entire Twilight saga, which has no quality value to a certain extent, but also it has like such a value for me, like as a teen who was reading the books and then watched the movie, and I loved the movie back then, and now I will just rewatch them now and then when I feel like I am nostalgic for my teenagehood. And to me, I know that qualitatively speaking they are not good. The reasons behind and our protagonists do makes no sense whatsoever, and I question those way more than I used to. So it was like, that's dumb, why are you doing that? But they're still having that nostalgic value that will mean that we'll rewatch this now and again and again and again. And again, I would give this 4 stars on a personal level. It would be probably 2 stars on a quality level. I don't think these are movies that, if you have not lived through them when they came out, not lived through the experience of reading the book, watching the movie, if you were not part of that, don't bother with them. They cannot give you basically anything. But if you come from that generation that read the books and watched the movie back then, and I mean, the actors are not too bad to look at, then you'll be probably like me, rewatching that now and then, knowing that's a guilty pleasure and still enjoying it. That's a controversial one. The next one, I watched Logan, which is the final movie in the Wolverine saga, if you want. So I watched all the X-Men during 2021 from the first one. I went in chronological order of events according to where the universe. I went chronologically, okay? Let's just keep it up there. And I finished with Logan, which was the last one I had to see. And let me tell you, Logan is brutally violent. Like, if you watch the X-Men saga, you were expecting certain kind of action, and then you watch Logan, it's like, whoa, what am I watching? And I'm not someone who's usually have an issue with violence or blood. I had sometimes to just take a step back and just say, whoa, that's graphic. So this is definitely not for children. No, it's not even for all adults. It's for adults with very strong stomach. And ultimately, I gave it 3 stars though. I don't know, I liked some aspects of it. I liked the way it was done. I love Hugh Jackman. I think he's such a great actor, but I wasn't completely satisfied. And there's nothing I can do about that. It's a very personal opinion. I do realize that's just based on my personal tastes, but I was ultimately just on the, okay, I'm not too happy about this. I didn't dislike this, but then I watched Love Hard during I think it was November, so it just came out. Romantic comedy where basically this girl gets catfished and she actually travels to meet this guy just to find out that he's not like the picture. And then she gets down to make a deal with this guy because his family is so enthusiastic that finally he has met a girl. So they agree that he will introduce her to the actual guy that he was pretending to be, as long as she could pretend to be his girl over the Christmas period. And it's just cute. It's just very cute, but also I really, really enjoyed that finally we're giving some representation to Southeast Asians. So we got like this Chinese boy who's been pretending to be this white guy. Now when she gets there, she finds out that he's not the guy in the picture, and he's such a sweet cinnamon roll. And their story, it was just pleasure to watch, and I gave it 4 stars. And if you like romantic comedies, this was fun, heartwarming, and definitely new in the genre. Like, how many times do you see actually a white girl with an Asian boy, like in a movie, like with a Chinese boy? Like, you don't see that usually. So I'm very glad that Netflix and in general that these movies are expanding and being more inclusive. Then I watched Jumanji: The Next Level, and this is bloody fun. It's a remake of Jumanji, so this is the sequel of a remake that was done with Kevin Hart, which is just looking at him, like the faces he makes just makes me laugh. The Rock, which is an actor I absolutely find such a good actor, especially when it comes down to comedies. It's got such a comic value. It's just perfect because he looks serious, but then he can be so hilarious. And all the cast, Jack Black, loved it. It was just a fun time with a bunch of adventure, with improbable things happening, and just humor, which is something that I really needed in December and November. So yeah, 4 stars. And I would suggest, if you watched Jumanji and like the remake, the first remake, you're gonna probably like this one as well. I watched this, and I don't want to mispronounce it because I think that's rude of me, mispronouncing the name. So I'm not gonna pronounce it because I don't want to make a mistake. But this is another Marvel installment, and we have I think one of the first protagonist that's again Asian, and I did like the action, but my enjoyment for this movie was on principle, so liking the idea of finally getting a bit of diversity in Marvel and giving space to, you know, Asian protagonists, but also the effects, visual effects, the world at one point we're taken in, it was just beautiful. Like, the scenery was just beautiful at all times. However, as quality wise, like in terms of the plot, didn't like that as much. Like the martial arts in it and the combat scenes, but the plot itself, I thought it wasn't that great. It was just okay. So I gave it 3 stars in the end because I meshed up what I liked and what I didn't like, and I think on average it's what I would give, but I will watch the sequel for sure. A movie that surprised me for how much I liked it was Jungle Cruise, and I now watched this on Disney Plus, I believe, and this is the story of this explorer, that she's a female explorer back in the days when, of course, women should just go home and have children and be good housewives. Instead, she's an explorer, and she aims to go travel to the jungle and find this relic that has a whole legend behind it. And she gets to the jungle and she meets the Rock, who is not very much called The Rock, but he's The Rock, the actor, who is the actually owner of his ship, and he's the driver, and usually he takes people around on tourist cruises on the river in the jungle, and he has a lot of debt, so he's in a lot of trouble with the local guy who owns everything. He owns money. They come together, clash together, and they go on this adventure together. And I really liked for the action, the legend behind it. Looks like kind of, if you like Indiana Jones, I think you will like this kind of movie. And I also did really enjoy that some of the twists I didn't see coming, which was nice, and it was just overall a pleasure, and I gave it 4.5 stars. There is, if you like these kind of movies, explorer movies with action in it and a lot of humor in it, you will probably like this. It was clearly the season of The Rock, because I watched another movie with him and with Ryan Reynolds and Gal Gadot, and this was Red Notice. It had just come out on Netflix, and again, this is a story of this police officer who's chasing this very famous jewelry or artifacts thief, and Ryan Reynolds plays a thief. The movie starts in this museum where Ryan Reynolds has just tried to steal something. So there is a chase, and then all of a sudden they have to team up against another bad guy, Gal Gadot, and they have to team up to find, to basically stop this plot and collect 3 parts of something. So now this didn't work as well as Jungle Cruise, for example. So I found the overall okay. I gave it 3 stars. There's still action, there's still humor, but it wasn't as funny as I was expecting, or as surprising, or as refreshing for the genre as I was expecting. So it was just on average, it just fell on the average of movies like this that we have seen thousands times before. So yeah, unfortunately, I think definitely putting the actors that they put in gave it more value, in the sense that people would be attracted to the movie. But if the plot, it was just okay. Nice twist in the end, yes, but not enough for me to redeem the whole movie or give it more stars. A movie that usually is out of my comfort zone and I actually end up very much enjoying overall was Ad Astra. This is with Brad Pitt, and it's the story of these astronauts who goes on a mission to prevent potentially the end of the world. And it's very personal as a movie, like his reasons to do so are very personal. I don't want to spoil anything, although everything becomes clear pretty much in the beginning. I did like the concept behind this. I think we have what you could consider the bad guy that has an interesting perspective and motive to do what he's doing. So I did like that, and I did really like the character of Brad Pitt, who plays basically this kind of cold, unempathic human who is just on a mission, and he just doesn't care about anything and anybody apart from getting the job done, and seeing how this character develops throughout the movie. And so yeah, I end up giving this 4 stars, and I would definitely recommend. I think if you like Interstellar, this is not on the same level of Interstellar, but the stakes are less high than Interstellar. So I really liked Interstellar, but I felt like suffocating by that movie, and these gave me a bit of discomfort without providing me with all the unpleasant thoughts and feelings that Interstellar arose in me, for good reason. So Interstellar is a very good movie, and I really enjoyed it, but it came with a big package of emotions that left me, while this was just nice with a good message in the end, but without leaving me feeling like so heavy in the chest, if it makes sense. Finally, I watched Bad Boys for Life. Now, Bad Boys is one of my favorite movies from when I was probably a teen. Loved that movie, loved Bad Boys so much. The songs, everything about that movie is kind of canon for me. So of course, when I knew this was on Netflix, I believe, I had to watch it. I give it 4 stars. I think for the saga, it's a good installment in the saga. Provides with, again, action and humor and to beloved characters that it's nice to see how they are. It's okay in the canon, like it's not gonna be canon as the first movie was, or even the second movie was, but it's still nice wrap up, if it makes sense. So I'm glad I watched it, and if you're a big fan of the saga, I don't think you can ruin anything by watching this. TV series. So I don't have much time usually to watch series, but I finished 4 of these. First one was Midnight Mass. Is from the same creator that did The Haunting of Hill House, and my very well beloved and one that I praise all the time, The Hunting of Bly Manor, which is brilliant. If you like horror, but I don't usually do horror movies, like I scare easily, and The Hunting of Bly Manor was the perfect combination of scaring me but also providing me the perfect plot. Midnight Mass, the premise is that you follow this guy who used to live in a remote island and moved to the mainland, but then during a drunk evening he was driving and he caused the death of a young girl, and he served some prison time. Now he was out on bail, I think, and he goes back to his family with the premise that he has to do a meeting and work through his issues. And in the town, the priest, who is now old, has traveled to the mainland and never returned. So a substitute comes in, and this priest has got these very different ideas and this way of doing. And now the craft of this, and this is a wonderfully crafted horror, religious horror TV show, is the discussions in this. There is not much in terms of the environment. The horror builds and you get to like a very gory ending, but it's a slow burn. The thing that's most fascinating about this is, first of all, I had not digested anything of the sort before, any series or a horror series based on with a heavy religious theme underlining it. And I found so fascinating the redemption of this guy who had killed this girl, together with these new priests coming in, and all the town, you follow a bunch of characters and each one of them has got issue going on, and they all have to come together or stand against each other in the face at the end. All of those characters, such profound souls and personalities, they just came across. I think some of the best talks about what die means, what is God, Satan, like religious things. Like, I'm not a religious person, and yet I was so fascinated and I could relate so much with some of the characters, especially our protagonist, Riley. I thought some of the conversation we were going on between Riley and one of the female protagonists, as well as the priest, were so fascinating, like amazing. There is a scary element, jump scare element a couple of times, so be aware of that, but it's honestly, it's worth your time if you are into more slow burning horror that makes you think more than just scare you for the sake of scaring you. Then I gave it a try to Sex Education season 1. It's definitely a premise that would not usually appeal to me. It's not the kind of telefilm that TV series that I reach for nowadays, but I gave it a try and I really found that it was heartwarming but also uncomfortable, but also such an amazing cast of characters with such touching stories and bloody funny. And I've got some controversial opinions about some of the characters in it. I think there is a big hyped character that I don't pretty much like, but the best friend, I'm horrible with names, but our protagonist, I don't even remember the name of the protagonist, but his best friend, his story, and what happens in the end, that couple, I was just so happy for it, and I just definitely want to see that happening. So I will continue on at one point with season 2 for sure, because I need to know what happens to my beloved characters. Like, I think I also love the mom of the main character. I don't remember her name, but she is the amazing actress. I think she's such a gorgeous, beautiful, amazing, talented actress. I see her in the X-Files. I've seen her in before. The Irish, I think it's Irish TV show. She's amazing. So I will continue on. And finally, I watched the last season 2 of Beastars, and I struggled at the beginning a tiny bit, and then I enjoyed it. I ended up giving it 3.5 stars, though. I think the element of surprise that got me in the first season wasn't as much there as anymore. I got used to how the way it works. So basically, you have society that's, instead of made of humans, it's made of animals. So you got carnivores and herbivores. They go to this school, and you got in the first one a wolf falling in love with a bunny. But also there is, of course, carnivores are prohibited from eating other animals, and yet you got an assassination and a homicide in the first season that is resolved in the second season. So what I did like of the second season, that we get to know the mystery behind, we get to the resolution behind, but also what I didn't like is that the main love story, which fascinated me so much in the first season, wasn't that present in the second season, if at all. And that's what I missed so much. Overall, 3.5 stars. I honestly don't know if I will ever continue on with the series, if there is any more. I might not, you know, as of now I've not decided, but yeah, I would still suggest these. If you like the premise, at least give it a try. Maybe not for you, which I understand, it's not for everybody. Very briefly, I watched the Dennis Nilsson tapes, which is on Netflix. Dennis Nilsson is a serial killer who used to lure back in the 80s, 70s, 60s in UK, in London I believe, young men that were basically homeless to his apartment, and then he would kill them, dismember them, and the guy was so freaking dumb that the way he disposed of the bodies basically got him caught, because he was just flushing them down the toilet. The toilet got clogged and that was messy. Disgusting. And as I'm fascinated by true crime, I want to give it a listen. You do hear him speak in this, so he's recording tapes explaining a bit of part of his story, so you got that out of these. But I don't know, I found that it's always hard. Like, people think, oh, you're gonna hear things from their perspective, so that's amazing because you're gonna know all the truth, and that's wrong, because people, usually serial killers especially, usually have personality disorders, mental health, that at one point will cause them to actually not be as honest with themselves first of all, or with others, as you wish to. So what comes out of the mouth of a serial killer, I would just take it with a pinch of salt. It doesn't mean that's actually what's going on. It doesn't mean that actually that's what he was thinking at the time, or it's not all he was thinking, or all his reasons. So I always think that, you know, it's good to have their point of view, and some for sure are completely honest, but I would not just think that, oh, because he said so, then we have the whole story, or that's actually what has been going on for him. It's more complicated than that. And also, I think this was just 2 hours long. We didn't give much information, or I didn't get much out of it. It's nice to go to hear some of the survivors and some of the parents or like relatives of the victims. So that was nice, but I really didn't like the way this was done overall. Out of information, this, I think they just said, oh, because we got the tapes of him speaking, we're just gonna prioritize that and not give any more information about victims or what's going on how we caught him precisely. And I usually like my true crime documentaries to go in way more depth than these actually did. Finally, TV reality show, I just watched Jonas Brothers roast. I don't know, 2 hours, 1 hour and a half. Basically, think where the Jonas Brothers sit on these chairs and they are roasted by their friends and family, and it was just funny. Okay, I'm not even a big fan of the Jonas Brothers, although I like some of their songs. I think I just saw it on Netflix and clicked on it when I was doing some journaling and kept it in the background. I really like the couple, Joe and Sophie. I found them hilarious, so I had like an hour and a half and it was a good time, and I gave it 3 stars. It's just average, nothing special, but if you're a big fan, then you're gonna have a laugh at this. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what was your favorite thing you watched recently, so I can add that to my to be watched list, and I'll see you next time. Take care of yourself. Ciao.